Welcome back to the Get Unstuck and finally have what you want crash course. Today, we are going to dive into family entanglements on some really juicy topics that people love. One is family entanglements around money and having some breakthroughs around what's holding abundance back in your life. Two, family entanglements around relationship and what's getting in the way of relationships being fluid and happy and easygoing in your world. And that includes relationships with friends, family members, romantic partners, bosses, coworkers, any type of relating. We're also going to take a look at how entanglements and imprints affect you through your life. And we're going to do a conscious mind alignment session for you today. And of course, what you're going to get in this course is conscious mind breakthroughs to help you address your entanglements and imprints, and mini sessions to help set you free. We're going to be addressing the core causes of what seems to be keeping you stuck and getting in your way and holding you back, and the root cause of what tends to be in charge of your self sabotage. That's the entanglements and imprints. Now, keep in mind, your unconscious mind is always communicating with everyone else's. So it might not be your mouth that's talking. You might not be saying anything specifically out loud to people. But unconsciously, we are sending messages all the time. And some of our loudest messages that we send are the ones that are related to our entanglements and our imprints. And that's why people react to us the way they do. That's why we attract the kinds of situations and circumstances and people into our life that we do. And I'm all about taking the shortcut. I'm all about addressing things at the root cause so that we can just shortcut it and get it handled because life is short. Let's get to the good stuff. And that means that our path to freedom centers on focusing on our inner blocks that are locked in our unconscious, the 90% place that hosts the blocks that keep us stuck. And today, we're going to be diving into some more family entanglements that are getting in our way. And you'll notice on the Crash Course downloads page that the family entanglement questionnaire was available for you to download. The top of it looks like this. You can have fun filling it out. A lot of people have told me that just filling it out has given them so many conscious mind breakthroughs around what's actually been holding them back. And they can clearly see the pattern that's running through their family tree and how they're entangled with it. It also ends up being a fantastic excuse to get to talk to some of your family members and ask some really interesting questions that you may have never thought to ask before. And then you start getting these rich and wonderful family stories that you never would have heard about had you not had a reason to ask. So it's an extremely fun thing to get to play with. Okay, so let's dive in. And remember, awareness is the first step. And indeed, awareness is half the battle, it's half the victory. So identify as many as you can because the moment you shine light on the darkness, these things can no longer run around invisibly running the show behind your back. So, first one is a very popular one. It's the no permission for abundance entanglement. Originating incidences that you can look for in your family tree include if any of your relatives lost a lot of money, and they could have lost it because of the Great Depression, it could have been because they went bankrupt. If anybody gambled away their money, if money was stolen from one of your family members, if one of your family members lost their farm or their home, if anybody lived poor or lived in poverty, if they grew up with a life of struggle, and if anybody didn't get their inheritance, they didn't get their fair share of inheritance, or sometimes on the opposite end of the spectrum, they get more than their fair share. These activities can set off an entanglement pattern around money. This is the money entanglement. So let's look at some signs and symptoms that might be in your own life. And if you're following along on your worksheets, you can just circle any of the signs and symptoms or any of the originating incidences that show up that feel like they fit. If you're not using the worksheets, just on a piece of paper, take some bullet point notes down about the ones that are relevant to you. So, are any of these signs and symptoms familiar? Do you have a money ceiling? Do you seem to have a certain amount of money that you seem to be able to make or to save per month or per year? And once you start creeping above that line, something inevitably comes up that siphons away the money. Do you have unexpected bills and fines showing up? Do you get do you have money that gets lost? And that could be through investments, that could be through literally losing money, losing your credit cards, getting them stolen, any way of losing money. But we're looking for a pattern of losing money. Do you have a desire to gamble? Do you tend to lend money and it doesn't come back? Or in general, do you find that you have a pattern of struggling with money? These are some of the signs and symptoms to look for in your own life that can clue you in that there is a no permission for abundance entanglement at play. So, to give you a example of that, let's look at a case study. This is Melanie. And in her family tree, well, she came to me actually, and she wanted to have a money breakthrough. So I took a look in her family tree. What I discovered was that her mother had an uncle who became very wealthy, but he wouldn't share the money with anyone else in the family. And because of that, the rest of the family members developed this belief, this imprint that money's bad. And when people get money, it's bad, it ruins them. Well, that was Melanie's mom's uncle. Melanie's mom also got entangled with this money entanglement, and her pattern was that she was struggling with money. Melanie got entangled with the same thing. Also, she was struggling to grow her business, struggling to have enough customers come in. So when we addressed that, Melanie's someone who's in Freedom Tribe, the weekly group where we disentangle and reimprint. And when we addressed that, she told us in Freedom Tribe that new clients just started to choose her. She actually works at an agency where there's many other practitioners, and walk-ins would walk in up to the front desk, look at the roster of who there was to work with, and after she started disentangling, they just started picking her. I want to work with her. And they'd sign up and do sessions with her. People also called in and would sign up. So she would get emails in the evening that she had a new appointment scheduled for the next day because people had called in and signed up to work with her. And the third thing that she told us was that the other service providers in the building suddenly began referring to her. Now, she had been working there for some time. I think it was already a year, maybe two. And she consistently explained to the other service providers what she did for people so that they could refer to her. And they weren't referring to her. Months and months and months, no one was referring to her. After we addressed the money entanglement, all of a sudden, the service provider started referring to her. And she didn't do anything different. She didn't go knock on their doors or sit down and have a heart to heart with them. She didn't wag her finger at them. They just started doing it. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that our unconscious minds are constantly in communication with other people's unconscious. We're not necessarily opening our mouths and changing what we say out loud, and yet people start responding to us differently. So, another case study is Jeff Slater. And when he came to me, he wanted to open a workshop business. He wanted to be a coach and a public speaker and run events and do workshops. And he came to me because he had gone bankrupt and he had lost everything. And when it came time to start a new business, he was really nervous, really afraid that it would happen again. It's quite traumatic losing everything that you've got. And so, the tinge of that remained with him and he didn't want to have that experience again. He didn't want to attract it again. He didn't want to create it again. When I looked in his family tree, I saw that his grandmother grew up in a family of 13. in a family of 13 children. So she grew up in a family that was always poor and struggling. And along comes Jeff's father, and he gets entangled with this no permission for abundance. However, his version of the entanglement, or his flavor of the entanglement, was that he struggled in business. Jeff remembers growing up and his father working night and day to get his business off the ground. And he remembers them actually cutting corners and struggling with income and getting food on the table. And so, as we all know, Jeff's version, he got entangled with this and he already went bankrupt and he didn't want it to happen again. So when Jeff disentangled, in that next year, he shot up actually. He rose up to 3 million and made even more after that in the years after. So these unconscious blocks, these entanglements and imprints can be actually quite powerful in what they block and what they prevent from being able to come into our world. And oh, and by the way, he kept it. So this was quite some time ago that he did this work, and he's gone on to make more and more and more and kept it. So let's look at our next one. The next entanglement is called a pull towards death. Kind of a spooky name, but that's because it has to do with death. It has to do with having us be almost like 1 foot in life and 1 foot out of life. Some might even say 1 foot in the grave. So, some of the originating incidences that you can look for in your family tree include if someone died under the age of 25. So, do you have a relative that died under the age of 25? Did anybody in your family tree have parents who died while their kids were under the age 15, 15 or younger? Did any parents die while they had children that were aged 15 or younger? That'll set off an entanglement pattern, or it can set off an entanglement pattern. Are there any stillborns, miscarriages, or abortions in the family tree? Is there any genocide, any family members that participated in any genocide or colonization? And remember, this goes back to 7 generations. So at this point, you might have to think, what are my bloodlines? What are my ethnicities? And is it possible that any of my relatives were involved in some of the wars or the colonization that was happening? And did anybody in your family tree accidentally kill a civilian during wartime? That can also set off the pull towards death entanglement. And some of the signs and symptoms that you can look for in your own life, in your own world, to see if you're entangled, is if you have health issues. So clearly, this is one of the entanglements that I had, having this mystery illness that haunted me for 10 years. Any health issues. And that can include things like pain that you carry in your body, extra weight that you're carrying on your body, as well as any illnesses, diseases, health issues, medical issues. Another sign to notice is, are you having a dim life? The pull towards death entanglement is one of the entanglements that I call an all arounder. It tends to affect, or it can affect, every area of our life. So that means that when you have a pull towards death entanglement, it can affect how much money you make. It can affect your career. And if you progress in your career, it'll affect your business and how many customers come in or how much revenue you have. It can affect your relationships, your health, and your mood, your happiness levels. So it can affect any of the major 5 areas. And what it tends to do is it gives you the experience of life where you're not fully thriving. Your life isn't fully robust and shining. It's kind of it's dim. There's a dimness. It can also cause emotional pain or dark imaginings. So, emotional pain, that's fairly self explanatory. That's walking around with more sadness than you'd like, more stress, more overwhelm, more hurt, more pain. What I mean by dark imaginings is there's a couple of these. Have you ever had this one? So I've spoken at large events before where I've taught this principle to the audience, and half the audience will say, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everybody has that thought, don't they?" And the other half of the audience says, "What are you talking about? I've never had that thought." So here's the thought. Have you ever been driving your car on a highway or a freeway or a mountain road, and suddenly the thought pops into your head, I wonder what it would be like if I just turned the wheel real hard? I wonder what it would be like if I just turned into the center divider, turned off the road. So it's just this sort of dark thought that comes out of nowhere and pops into your head. Now, I've had a pull towards death, so I've had that thought a lot. And I thought it was just one of those entertaining human thoughts that everybody just kind of gets when you're driving on the road. And come to find out, there's a bunch of people that have never had this thought. So those of us with a pull towards death entanglement are more likely to have these dark imaginings. And they can be any strange yet dark thought, like getting into the bathtub and suddenly you have a quick image flashes through your mind that you slip and you break your legs, or you're driving underneath an underpass and you have an image that the underpass collapses, or you're driving over a bridge and you have a sudden flash the bridge collapses. Any manner of dark imagining flashing through your mind. And of course, this includes things like having dark imaginings that you get kidnapped or your children get kidnapped, right? So they're just kind of dark thoughts that flash through your mind. And sometimes they're just a quick flash, and other times they haunt you. So that's a sign and symptom of a pull towards death. Another one is a fear of heights. So, a fear of heights can actually be related to a pull towards death because there's a part of the unconscious that is afraid that you might entertain the thought or accidentally almost lose your balance right when you're at the edge of the mountain or the top of the stairs. Another thing to look for is indecisiveness. When we are not fully in life, when we are one foot in the grave, so to speak, it can be hard to know what your needs are and to feel what your needs are. It can be hard to know what your desires are and what your wants are. That all can be part and parcel of what makes indecisiveness a regular part of your reality. So, indecisiveness can stem back to the root cause of a pull towards death. And then this last piece is kind of entertaining. Some of the other things that show up in people with a pull towards death. People with a pull towards death can have a penchant for extreme sports. You might find yourself attracted to extreme sports. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who's attracted to extreme sports instantly has a pull towards death. It's just that people who have a pull towards death, we tend to see that this is more frequent, that there's an attraction to extreme sports, that there's an attraction to horror films or dramas or crime dramas, that there's a tendency to hold your breath sometimes. That sometimes you'll catch yourself sitting there or standing there or doing something, and suddenly you notice you were holding your breath. Here's another funny one, not taking a break to eat or pee. So, taking care of our bodily needs and our bodily functions is a part of life. And those with a pull towards death, for some reason, can tend to develop the habit of not always stopping what you're doing when you feel that it's time to eat or time to pee. So let's turn to some case studies so we can get a better understanding of how pull towards death actually plays out in the real world. So this is Alyssa, and Alyssa is a Pilates instructor. And she came up to me after I spoke at a large event, and she was crying, the poor thing. And she said, I can't get my practice built. I've been trying to do this for so long now, and it's just not happening. And I just feel like maybe I'm not made for this. Maybe I'm not built for this. I don't know. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. People aren't coming. People aren't staying. I don't get it. And naturally, I mean, this is what she wants. This is her dream. And so I looked in her family tree and I saw that there was a young death in her family. And like we saw earlier in the originating incidences, when there's people that die under the age of 25, that can set off an entanglement pattern. And sure enough, Alyssa was entangled with this pull towards death. So after she disentangled, what she came back and told us is that her practice filled in a week. So specifically, what she said to me was, Dana, I had more calls and more registrations in 1 week than I had in the previous 9 months combined. It was nuts. In fact, there were so many people that showed up that I wasn't prepared for that many, and I had to put them on a wait list. So that's a good problem to have, having a wait list of clients, is it not? That's a fun problem to have. So this is one of those examples where what was in the way was the unconscious block. When we removed the unconscious block, she didn't actually go out and do any extra marketing. She didn't call anybody. She didn't put up new flyers or postcards. She didn't knock on any doors. She didn't do any talks. And yet, within a week, suddenly, these clients just started coming in, signing up for her class. And it became so full she needed a wait list. And that's what I mean about how our unconscious minds are in charge of about 90% of what's happening in our world, and other people can, in essence, hear the communication that our unconscious is saying to them. And before, her unconscious had sort of a stay away order, not open for business. So even though her mouth was saying out loud, yeah, come in, I've got space, the other silent message was, no, don't come in. I don't have permission to have you coming in. So that's Alyssa. Another example is Shayla. And Shayla came to me and she had 6 years of back pain from being in two car accidents that happened within 1 month. And this was 6 years ago. And this pain had been haunting her for 6 years. So it wasn't exactly 6 years ago because I worked with her a while ago. 6 years before she came to me. And what we noticed is that she had a pull towards death in her family tree. In fact, there was a few different places that was showing up. And after disentangling, her pain lifted and didn't come back. Now, one of the car accidents that she was in was when she was a pedestrian. She was walking and a car hit her while she was walking. And within that same month, another car hit her when she was driving. So that's a lot of accidents to be attracting, especially in a short amount of time. And that's one of the signs that you can look for as well when it comes to a pull towards death, is attracting these kinds of things like accidents. Some people have actually had a number of accidents, or they have a tendency for clumsiness, being accident prone themselves. So those are some signs that you can look for as well. And of course, there's me. And I definitely had a pull towards death entanglement because I showed up with a decade of chronic fatigue and anxiety and depression and cognition problems and memory problems and trouble speaking and reading and writing, body pain. When I looked in my own family tree, I saw that my grandmother in Taiwan had lost two children, two babies actually. My grandmother lived in a small rural village in Taiwan, and this was quite some time ago. So medicine, doctors was not advanced, was not plentiful. And she lost one of her babies as a 1 month old and one as a 1 year old to polio. My mom comes along, and my mom has two miscarriages, wouldn't you know it? Follows the same pattern, but the way that it manifests is slightly different. I come along and I get entangled with the pull towards death. And I entangled with it when I was young. So I wasn't having children. I was traveling at the time, actually, and came down with all these different symptoms. So when I addressed that, the anxiety that was haunting me for a decade lifted, the depression lifted, and that being bedridden that I told you about in week one, being in bed for 3 or 4 days at a time, every week, every other week, not able to support myself, not able to hold down a job, that lifted. And indeed, it's kind of reversed into now a pull towards life. And it can reverse fully in that way. A lot of people actually say to me, "You look quite young and radiant for your age," and it does that. When you release a pull towards death, there is a sort of anti-aging aspect to it, or a reversing aging aspect to it. I feel younger than I used to when I was younger, if that makes sense. And I am more effervescent and bubbly and buoyant and positive than I ever was in the past. So let's take a look at the next one. This is also a really popular one because this is the love entanglement. For those of you that want to break through around love, romance, relationships, whether it be with friends, partners, your own family members, this is the place to look. This is the first place to look. It's called the no permission for connection entanglement. And some of the originating incidences to look for in your family tree include: did anyone lose a love? Did anybody not get to marry someone who they wanted to marry? It could have been because of, they could have lost a love because of death, accident, illness. Perhaps they weren't allowed to marry someone that they loved because of race, religion, class. So, not getting to be with the one you love for whatever reason can start this entanglement pattern. Did anybody in your family tree put walls up around their heart? Did anybody have reason to put walls up around their heart? Maybe they came from a family where they experienced some abuse. Maybe somewhere along the way they had a negative sexual experience and the walls went up. There's all kinds of reasons that as humans end up protecting ourselves and putting walls up around our heart. And when somebody does that and they kind of shoom, the walls go up, it can create an entanglement pattern that goes down the generations. This often can happen with people who go to war, those who experience war. Because in order to go to war, you kind of have to shut down parts of your heart and steel yourself to the task of what you need to do. So, oftentimes we'll see in a family tree, especially with the men that have gone to war in World War One, World War Two, Vietnam, and all the others, that when they come back from war, they're not as open. They can, war affects us humans. We see a lot, we experience a lot, we do a lot that's not great. And when we come back, some of that can haunt us and it can close up our hearts. And what happens is then we have children that grow up that experience one of their parents being more shut down or being more withdrawn. Maybe not totally, but even in some way. And we can get entangled with that pattern. Another thing that you can look for in your family tree is a pattern of divorce. Are there divorces in your family tree? This can clue you in that there might be a no permission for connection entanglement at play. Now let's take a look at how this can show up in your life. And remember, if you can identify any of these, you want to get clued in on it right now so that it doesn't continue to run unnoticed in the background. We're shining a light on it, no more hiding. So, signs and symptoms that you can look for in your own life include: do you find that you're alone often? Do you find that you tend to spend time alone, spend a decent amount of time alone, either working alone or being alone? Now, you might notice that you enjoy being alone, and yet you might notice that you want more connection in your life. One of the signs and symptoms to let you know that there might be a no permission for connection entanglement as a root cause is just noticing that you might be spending more time alone than you wish for, or just that pattern's in your world. Do you find that you're overwhelmed? Those of us that have the no permission for connection entanglement can notice that overwhelm is something that follows us, because when we have no permission for connection, it can attract not having enough support in our lives. So I've had no permission for connection entanglement. I noticed that I spent a lot of time alone, more time than I wanted to alone, in part because of the illness was very isolating, and in part when I was working in my business, I was often alone when I was growing it. And I was overwhelmed a lot. You might notice a workaholic pattern. So I actually had someone that I worked with who thought that he had a no permission for success entanglement because his business wasn't growing. After I looked in his family tree, I noticed it was no permission for connection entanglement. And the no permission for connection entanglement was creating a self sabotage pattern of making him a workaholic. What it did was it made it so that he had to do everything at work and he felt like he couldn't delegate. And whatever he delegated seemed like it wouldn't get handled very well and it would fall back on his plate and he'd have to do it himself anyways. But all that work was keeping him at the office and not at home with his wife and kids. So when we disentangled from the no permission for connection entanglement, suddenly his business took off. He started working less and making more and being able to spend more time at home. And we did nothing around the no permission for success or abundance entanglement. It was simply this one. So, another sign and symptom you might notice is trouble in relationships. Relationships are harder or more of a struggle than you'd like, more tiffs, arguing than you'd like. And this includes work relationships, friend relationships, family relationships. You might notice that you have trouble with intimacy, that intimacy can feel not fully safe. Or on the flip side of the coin, you might feel fine with intimacy and have a pattern and an uncanny knack of being able to attract other people to you who aren't available, who aren't open for commitment, or who themselves have trouble with intimacy. And you might have the pattern of not getting enough customers. When we have no permission for connection, one of the things that can show up is we don't have enough customers coming in. Not enough customers feel drawn to you, and not enough customers feel drawn to signing up and buying your product or service. So let's take a look at a case study. This is Anetta. And when Anetta came to me, I mean, she was 50 years old and she's this beautiful, gorgeous, radiant, wonderful person. And she came to me and said, I have never in my entire life had a boyfriend or a husband. And I've taken all these courses on manifesting my beloved. I've done so much work around it. I've journaled about who I want. I've gotten clear. I've done the manifestation exercise, all these things, and nothing has been happening. And so we looked in her family tree, and I saw that she had the namesake entanglement. She was entangled with her aunt. She's named after her aunt, who died alone, a spinster. And so her aunt has the no permission for connection entanglement. She's the originating incident. And Anetta was entangled with her. So when we disentangled from that pattern, wouldn't you know it, within 2 months, she met the man she was looking for. And this is the one she told me that she had been journaling about. The man that showed up is the one that fit the things that she was asking the universe for. So keep in mind that with core cause work, when we're doing the disentangling, when we're doing the re-imprinting, this isn't like counseling. You can't do it every week because this type of work is more like ultra concentrated Tide with bleach. It's concentrated. You need to give yourself a little bit of time to integrate the sessions. The fastest way to get results is doing one session every 2 weeks. So you may have noticed that there are parts of you that have been thirsty for this type of knowledge and for this type of release. I definitely know I was. I love this work because once I got that illness, I realized how precious life was and that it could be taken away in an instant. And I learned how precious time was. And I became the kind of person where I realized life is short. 80 years isn't guaranteed, let alone next year. And I'm the kind of person where I want that yesterday. Let's do this. Let's get this done. I want to live the life that I came here to live, and I want to live the life that I want to live now. I don't want to keep waiting for that. And I do consider this work like ultra concentrated Tide with bleach. I joke that it gets your whites whiter and it gets your colors brighter. It just washes all the gunk away off of the whites and it makes your world more brilliant. It makes your colors brighter. And I love this work because every day is another chance to change your life. And with each session, we're pulling off a layer of one of the imprints or entanglements that's hiding the true you, that's burying the true you. And when it comes to entanglements and imprints, we notice the symptoms of the entanglements and imprints. We notice the signs and symptoms in our own life that we're struggling with money, or we're struggling in our career or business. Something's not going the way we want it to in relationship. Our health or our happiness is blocked in some way. And we notice that the pattern perhaps repeats, that it keeps showing up. And the problem is that we think it's us. We think that we're not good enough, we're doing something wrong, and we tend to blame ourselves. And we end up judging ourselves for things that are not our fault. For that matter, we often blame others for behaviors that are caused by their entanglements and imprints too, because everyone else is also struggling with the entanglements and imprints that are blocking them and holding them down. So again, remember, the blame stops here. Your entanglements and imprints are not your fault. That is definitely something to smile about. And resolving them is practical. Someone said to me recently, this is a really practical way to address this. It's not hard, and it's an accelerated way to free yourself. And some of the side benefits that people report about freeing yourself, about getting freed of your entanglements and imprints, is that people won't get under your skin as much. Other people's behavior, what they do, what they say, the stuff that used to trigger you, those triggers begin to extinguish. You aren't as reactive anymore. People don't get under your skin, and things won't phase you as much. It's like Teflon or water off a duck's back. Things just kind of slide off and you remain Joe Cool. I've experienced this, but other people have also explained to me that you just kind of become more relaxed, more at ease, and more compassionate naturally. So let's take a look at how entanglements and imprints travel with you over time. How do these things work over time? So I've created some drawings here that I've drawn by hand. Let's just say that this is you, and this is you as a baby in your diapers. And those symbols on top of your head represent the entanglements and imprints that you picked up in your childhood and that you have through your family tree. And as you grow up and you get older, these entanglements and imprints travel with you. What, what tends to happen is that we tend to attract people who have the same or compatible imprints and entanglements. I'll say that again. We tend to attract people who have the same imprints and entanglements or compatible imprints and entanglements. So perhaps the pink diamond is the I'm not good enough imprint. Perhaps the green line is the no permission for abundance entanglement. And perhaps the purple E shape and the corresponding Lego piece that fits in right there. One of them is the no permission, I'm sorry, one of them is the victim entanglement, and the other is the perpetrator entanglement. And they fit together like lock and key. And that's what I mean by compatible imprints and entanglements. The ones that fit together and dovetail together like lock and key. Now, let's just say that you attract someone into your world and they're not expressing what they need to express in order for you to feel like, this is unconsciously, by the way, for your unconscious to feel that it's fulfilling on its entanglements and imprints. Our unconscious is always going to want to make sure that our entanglements and imprints are running as scheduled because they're the ones that childhood imprints are the things that are written in your survival code. And the family entanglements are there out of love and out of belonging. So the unconscious wants to run these patterns. When these patterns aren't running, when the person that you've attracted isn't cooperating and helping you fulfill on your entanglements and imprints, so to speak, we tend to unconsciously begin to poke at them and provoke them, trying to get them to cooperate with our entanglements and imprints. So let's say that you have the victim entanglement and the partner that you've attracted isn't being perpetratory enough. You might not consciously notice that you're doing this, I should say, but unconsciously, you might start self sabotaging. And you might start poking and poking and provoking in ways to get a rise out of your partner without even realizing it. Now, if that doesn't work, we have a fallback method, and that is that we just project onto them that they are behaving in that way. So we might just start seeing through the lenses of our victim entanglement and start feeling like they're picking on us or they're being too harsh. And we start hearing what they're saying and seeing what they're doing through the lenses of our entanglements and imprints. And what happens is, what that means for us is that we're interacting with shadows of the past and not with the person that's actually standing in front of us. Now, this goes both ways because the other person is also likely going to unconsciously provoke things in you as well. So you might notice that after you're with someone for a while, whether this is a friend or a romantic partner or someone at work, that some unconscious instigating starts happening and some projection starts happening. And you can rest assured that there are entanglements and imprints at the root cause of those patterns. And that means that as you're going through life, if you have the pull towards death entanglement, you'll tend to attract other people who have the pull towards death entanglement. If you have the no permission for connection entanglement, you'll tend to attract other people who have the no permission for connection entanglement. If you've got no permission for abundance entanglement or money imprints, you'll tend to attract people who have no permission for abundance entanglements or money imprints. And if you've got the perpetrator entanglement, you'll tend to attract people with the victim entanglement and vice versa. So, the whole point of what it is that we're doing in this crash course is taking the time to free you of the entanglements and the imprints so that there is no need for the self sabotage and the unconscious prodding at somebody else or the projecting onto others. And then, as we are doing this, as we are taking these layers off and freeing you, we are also beginning to plant in place what you want instead: the happiness, the ease, the health and support, the success, the love. And of course, when you do your inner work, when you remove your entanglements and imprints, you are doing this work also for future generations in your own family tree. So the work that you do affects your children, it affects your grandchildren, and for that matter, it also affects your parents and your grandparents. So it goes backwards and forwards because anytime you change one part of a system, you end up affecting the entire system. So that takes us to our mini session for today. Today, we're going to dive into doing a conscious mind alignment session. So, last week I shared that doing conscious mind alignment work, it's like having a garden, and we're going in and we're pulling out the weeds by the root. That's doing the disentangling work, that's doing the re imprinting work. We're pulling out those weeds by the root. Doing the conscious mind alignment work is when we go in and we plant the flowers and the trees that you want instead in your garden. Conscious mind alignment work helps you reach your goals faster and easier. It helps you become ninja at communication so that whenever you're needing to talk to somebody, and interact with somebody, whether it be romantic partners, family, friends, coworkers, bosses, you can communicate in such a way that you're not creating more problems for yourself. And in fact, you get towards solution and you create more win-win situations because of your skill at communication. It's also here to grow your ability at emotional and social intelligence, which is your ability to work with what's happening inside of you, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings. That's your emotional intelligence. And then your social intelligence is being able to read other people, recognize what's going on for them, and to be able to communicate in such a way that you create harmony. That when you have an intention, you can actually make your intention manifest. In fact, it helps with your ability to manifest and magnetize to you the people, situations and circumstances that you want. It's also here to provide conscious mind breakthroughs. So let's dive into a mini conscious mind alignment session. We're going to do a conscious mind alignment session around a goal that you have. So I'm going to do some conscious mind alignment work, helping your conscious mind be aimed at a goal that you have, at the same time as helping your unconscious be aimed at the goal, so that both parts are aligned with a goal that's important to you. So, what I'd like you to do is to please find a piece of paper that you can tear into 5 pieces. You can also use paper towels, like a paper towel, and rip it into 5 pieces, a napkin. You can use 5 receipts. You can even use 5 coins if you like. And as you're doing that, as you're looking for this piece of paper that you can tear into 5 pieces, please think of a goal that's important to you, something that you'd like to achieve sometime within the next month. Think of a goal that you have for yourself, something that's important to you that you'd like to achieve within the next month. And when you have those 5 pieces of paper, set them on the ground in a straight line about a foot away from each other. And if you don't have an open space with 6 feet of clear carpet or floor to work on, you can make them closer. You can move them closer if you like. Okay, 5 pieces of paper on the floor in a straight line, about a foot away from each other, or maybe 6 inches away from each other. Please choose one piece of paper to represent the first or number 1 stone. We're going to set up a sort of stepping stones here on the ground. Choose the other side to be stepping stone number 5. One side begins with 1, the other side is the 5th stone. Please walk over and stand near the 5th stone. Bring to mind this goal that you'd like to achieve within the next month sometime. And think about, how will you know when you have completed this goal? What will that final scene or that final moment be as you complete this? If your goal is writing an ebook, then perhaps the final scene is you typing the last sentence and clicking save. So, what is this final scene, this final moment when you are at the successful completion of this goal? In just a moment, I'm going to have you infuse stone number 5 with this final scene. And here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to ask you to step into your body in this final scene. So you're going to be stepping into the body of your future self in this final scene, and you're going to take the actions of completion, and I'm going to guide you through this whole, the way it feels when you complete and what you say to yourself when you complete. So let's begin by shaking your body loose. Shake your muscles, shake your arms, shake your legs, let it all loose. Take in a nice deep breath and let it all go. Very good. Another nice deep breath and let that all go. Nice. All right, close your eyes, please, and envision this final scene. When you're about to complete, step into your future self, into your body in that scene, and step onto stone number 5, being in your body in that scene, and take those final actions. And feel what it feels like to complete. Hear what you say to yourself. And take a moment and celebrate. What do you do after you complete? Do you put on some music and dance? Do you go grab a drink? What do you do? Take a moment and do something that is rewarding or celebratory. Okay, very good. Please step out of that scene and step off of stone number 5. Now, please walk around all the way over so that stone number 1 is in front of your feet. You're not stepping on stone 1 yet, it's in front of you. Okay, we've got 4 stepping stones in front of us, 4 phases of actions that we'll be taking to help us reach our goal. Each action a step on the path to realizing your goal. Now, sometimes one of the reasons that it's harder for us to reach a goal is that our conscious mind doesn't already know all of the steps. It doesn't either know what to do or it doesn't have it planned out yet. These things can slow us down. So, right now, I'm going to take you through these stepping stones and I'm going to ask your unconscious to give you the messages, if you will, of what you can be doing each step along the way to get you there. We're going to allow your unconscious to guide you. Now, you might already know some of the steps you're going to take, and I'm sure that those images and thoughts will appear as you step on each of these stones. There may be other actions that you'll be taking that you might not have thought of ahead of time, and they'll just appear to you as you step on the stones. So here we go. Go ahead and take in a nice deep breath. And let that all go. And step forward onto stone number 1. What are the actions that you can be taking in phase 1 to get you started? Notice what thoughts and images come to mind. Notice how good it feels to be in action and that progress is happening. With every small completion, cross it off your list and notice how good it feels as you're taking each of the steps in phase 1 to cross off those actions. Mark them as complete. Rolling all of that progress forward onto stone number 2, please. Stepping forward onto stone number 2. What actions are you taking in phase 2? Notice how good it feels to be in action and making progress. With every small completion here, cross it off the list. Look up at stone number 5 and see what's waiting for you. Keep your eye on the prize. Every one of these smaller steps is on the path that directly leads you to your goal. Crossing anything off these lists Each of them is a small victory. Rolling all of that progress forward onto phase 3, stone number 3. What actions are you taking in phase 3? Feel how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, to be crossing those things off the list. Each completion a victory, each completion a step closer to the realization of your goal. Rolling all of that progress forward onto stone number 4, step into phase 4. What actions are you taking in phase 4? Feel how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, and to have those completions, each one a victory, crossing it off your list. All the way until that last one where we roll all of that progress forward, stepping into stone 5, stepping into your body in that completion moment. Take the action of completion and feel how good it feels to complete, to have made it, to have done it. Hear what you hear and hear what you say to yourself in this moment of completion. And then go and do that celebratory thing, that thing where you get to relax, enjoy, celebrate having achieved it. And then step forward off of stone number 5, walk back around to the beginning where stone number 1 is in front of your feet. And you're standing on the floor or a carpet. Okay, this time, what inner state will be useful for you as you go through these actions and take these steps towards reaching this goal? What inner mindset or way of feeling, way of being will help you? Is it playfulness? Is it ease? Is it groundedness? Is it drive? Choose an inner state that you would love to have infused onto this path every step of the way. And now think of a time in the past where you have felt this way. It doesn't have to be in the same situation or doing the same type of thing. It could be something completely different. Maybe you felt this way when you were playing with your dog or reading a book. Think of a time in the past where you felt this, or imagine some scenario in the future where you would feel this. Close your eyes and step into that memory or in that imagined scenario and feel that feeling arise in your body. Where do you feel it the most? Put your hand there now, the epicenter of that feeling. And then turn up the volume on that feeling. If this feeling had a color, what color would it be? Turn up that color in your body and allow it to radiate even brighter, even fuller. And holding that state in place with your hand, step forward into phase 1, taking this feeling with you as you take all those actions and do all those little completions on stone 1. Feeling how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, to be crossing things off the list. Taking this feeling forward with you into stone number 2, into all the actions you do in phase 2. Using your breath to breathe this feeling through all the actions in phase 2. Noticing how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, crossing things off the list. Rolling all of that progress forward, please step forward into phase 3, taking this inner state with you into all of the actions here, using your breath to breathe this color throughout your body and into all of these actions. Noticing how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, to cross things off the list. Rolling all of that progress into phase 4, please. Step forward onto phase 4. Stone number 4. Breathing this feeling and this inner state of being into all of the actions on stone 4. Feeling how good it feels to be in action, to be making progress, and to be crossing things off that list. And take this way of being with you right into stone number 5, right into the completion. Step into your body in this final scene. Take that final action and feel the feelings that come with completion. Hear what you say to yourself. And then go and do that celebratory thing. Okay, very good. Please step forward off of stone number 5. Walk back around so that stone number 1 is in front of your feet again. Okay. Now, what's one more inner state of being or mindset that you'd like to take with you as you walk this path towards your goal? You can release your hand from that spot. What's another way of thinking, being, or feeling that would be useful for you to have as you take the steps towards this goal? Motivation, calm, focus, excitement, playfulness, groundedness, ease. Choose one and think of a time in the past that you felt this feeling, or a scenario in the future where you would feel this feeling, or an imagined scenario. Please close your eyes, step into that memory or into that scenario, and feel the feelings of this sensation arising in your body. Put your hand on the spot that is the epicenter. Hold that in place. If this sensation had a color, what color would it be? Go ahead and turn up the brightness on that color. And using your breath, breathe it throughout your body. Very good. Holding that in place, step forward onto phase 1 and use your breath to breathe this state of being into the actions in phase 1. Rolling this forward onto phase 2. Using your breath, breathe this color, this inner state of being through all the actions in phase 2. Rolling all of that forward into phase 3. Breathe this sensation into everything in stone 3. Rolling all of that forward, please step forward onto stone number 4. Breathing this color, this sensation, this way of being into all the actions in stone 4. And bringing all of that with you forward into stone number 5. Step into your body, take that final action. Feel how it feels to complete. Hear what you say to yourself. Yes. Go and celebrate. And step forward off of stone number 5. You can release your hand from that spot. Walk back around so that stone number 1 is in front of you. And take a look at the path that's in front of you leading to this goal. Notice how each step and each action along the way is intimately connected to realizing your goal. That each activity that you do, each action, each moment is on the path to making that goal a reality. And now let's bring some more speed and ease to your realization of this goal. I'm going to walk you through the path a couple more times. And you've done this before now a few times, so this is getting familiar. Let's bring a little more speed and ease to it. I'm going to walk you through it. And you don't have to be with every single moment, every single completion, every single action, because we've already planted it on each stone a number of times now. Now we're going to allow your body to integrate everything that we've planted on the stones. The actions, the progress, the completions, the inner states of being, and how each step is intimately connected to the realization of your goal. Go ahead and step forward onto stone number 1 and breathe with everything that's here. Rolling all of that forward onto stone 2, please. And breathe that in. Taking all of that forward into stone 3. Using your breath to integrate the inner states of being and the actions and completions. Stepping forward onto stone 4. Breathing in the actions, the feelings, the completions. Taking all of that forward with familiarity into stone 5, stepping into that final scene. Take that final action. Feel how it feels. Hear what you say to yourself. Go and do the celebration. And step off of that stone right back around with stone number 1 in front of your feet. This time, we're only going to spend about 1 second on each stone. And I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to guide you to walk through it. So go ahead and step onto stone 1, stone 2, stone 3, stone 4, and stone 5. Very good. Step forward off of stone 5, please. Walk back around one more time. And this time, I'm going to ask you to just walk at your normal pace or your normal gait without even looking at the stones. You don't have to step directly on the stones. You're just going to walk along the path until you get to stone 5. Taking a nice deep breath. You know this path now. Go ahead and walk. Very good. Stepping forward off of stone 5. Now go ahead and walk around your space. Walk around the room. Coming all the way back to here and now, allowing your eyes to fall upon whatever objects they fall upon as you walk around. Getting some cross hemispheric integration in by using your feet. If you like, you can walk in place or march in place. That works as well. With every step, integrating this session deeper and deeper. Very good. Come on back over. All right. Well done. Well done. We've got a big yes here. I'm sending you double high fives. You are Awesome. Now, some of the biggest mistakes that people make and some of the biggest things that end up wasting our time is that we don't want to waste our time and our energy focusing on the symptoms that are showing up in our world. We want to turn our attention to focus on the root causes, go straight to the root and address it from there. Because when we focus on the symptoms only, we get stuck spinning our wheels. Locating the real cause and the root cause is the fastest way to get yourself unstuck. We've been spending time focusing on that this whole crash course. If you notice that you have a problem that keeps reappearing, even if you've worked on it, you can be suspicious that an entanglement or imprint is at play. If you've tried to put in more hard work or more money or more time and you're not getting better results, that's a sign and symptom that an entanglement or imprint is the root cause. If you're noticing that science or physics isn't working the way it normally works, for example, if you're eating less yet still putting on more weight, that's an example of science or physics not working like it normally would. That's generally a sign pointing to an entanglement or imprint at play. And if you have reoccurring negative emotions, given any calendar week of the year, if you notice that negative emotions, certain negative emotions, you're pretty much guaranteed to feel, then we're looking at an entanglement or imprint at the root cause of that. If you notice that you have a pattern of self sabotage in a certain arena of life, whether it be with your income, with your career or business, with your relationships or your health, again, that's a sign and symptom of an entanglement or imprint and play. And that is why I created Freedom Tribe. I know that many of you have been writing in and saying, how can I get more disentangling and re imprinting? Because I want more breakthroughs. And I want to have ripples of positive change, not only for my life, but for all the people that I end up supporting and touching and being around. And so we work on that in Freedom Tribe. Freedom Tribe is a community of us that get together where we work on freeing our true selves. Like I said, the truth of you is that you are a golden ball of light, and the entanglements and imprints are like the stinky layers of a rotting onion that are blocking your light from reaching the world and the light of the world from reaching you. In Freedom Tribe, we're working on clearing out our abundance and success blocks. We work on clearing out our relationship blocks and improving things in our romantic life. That includes how things are going with our romantic partner, and that includes how things are going in our sex life. We work on removing blocks that are getting in the way and keeping you stuck around your health and on your imprinted states, those emotions that stick around that you don't care to feel every week, but they keep showing up. And naturally, we're also working on doing conscious mind alignment. Some of the benefits of Freedom Tribe are that you get to work with me more directly. I'm going to help you resolve your childhood imprints and your family entanglements. And you're already familiar with the types of breakthroughs that this kind of work provides around your income, around success, around relationships, around health, around happiness. And we're doing all of this to help you create ripples of positive change in your life and in the world. Because when you change your life, you end up changing the world. Here's some examples of people who have written in or reported back to me from Freedom Tribe. This is Gat, and she says, after working with Dana, things have cleared and things are exploding in my business. I've been able to recruit people into my business, and I've had a dry spell for months. So far this month, I've brought in 12 new customers, and I'm showing up more relaxed and authentic. I'm attracting new prospects, and even people I've met from 2 years ago are calling me up out of the blue. Later reports, before working with Dana, I had fear of losing my partner. I was on guard, so I couldn't enjoy life or what was in front of me. Now, when I'm with him, it feels very good. I'm so at ease. I also used to be very withdrawn when meeting new people. Now I find myself initiating conversations and talking much more. I feel open and comfortable. Awesome, nicely done. Uh, Here's one that says, I was having tremendous issues around my finances. It seemed that after a couple of months with working with Dana, something just happened. One day, the phone started ringing off the hook. I went from no money and difficulty finding a job to making 10K in 1 month. So, these are just some examples, real world examples of what this work does and what it can do. This is Berna. She says, before working with Dana, I was making purchases and acquiring things that I didn't need. And I was even on my way towards a pattern of hoarding. Now that's gone. I no longer have the need to collect or overbuy, and I'm more responsible with my money. This is PJ. PJ says, before working with Dana, I didn't know what I was going to do with my seminar business. I had 4 workshops in a row lose money, and I had to seriously think about closing down my business. After working with Dana, I generated over $320,000 in sales at my 2009 Prosperity Summit, which was 6 times what I had made in past workshops. So nicely done, PJ. This is Shyla. She says, I got in 2 car accidents 6 years ago. Within 1 month, one car hit me while I was walking on foot, and another car hit me while I was driving. I had pain in my back for 6 years. I tried a lot of healing modalities, and nothing took it away. After working with Dana, the pain just disappeared. And I'm just giving, different people have written in and reported back to me. So I just wanted to show you the different flavors of the way that entanglements and imprints can show up and what it looks like when you release them, when you resolve them. So after working with Dana, I found that I had a newfound freedom in my relationship to money and therefore my attitude towards growing my writing coaching business. Suddenly, new leads for clients and offers to refer my services just showed up. One Fred posted an ad with her network, and I received 4 phone calls and emails in 24 hours. This is Jeff. He says, before I worked with Dana, I was programmed to work really hard for money, and I had gone bankrupt. After working with Dana, my income doubled. I worked less, and my life around me just opened up. I had done so many other trainings, I thought this would just be another one. I was gladly wrong. Dana's a breath of fresh air. When I want results in my life to open up, I work with her. Here's someone who was working with weight, actually. This is Judy. She said, I had a pull towards death that was the root cause of my unhealthy eating and snacking. After I worked with Dana, the weight came off and stayed off. This is someone who says, after I first started seeing Dana, I had stopped. At the time that I first started seeing Dana, I had stopped making money, burned through my savings, and began avoiding creditors. After working with Dana, I attracted a business partner and started a company that was recently valued at 4 million. I'm really excited about living out my dreams and giving back to the world. This is Christina. She works at a camp for youth. Actually, she manages it, and she says, after working with Dana, something in me shifted. Both employees and clients are having a more positive experience at camp. I increased monthly sales by 24% in one weekend and brought in long-term partnerships with several new clients, ensuring revenue for the company. This will allow me to do more of what I love, leadership and team building programs, which are my way of changing my world for the better, one person at a time. And this is Jasmine. She says, I love the shifts that I've gone through with Dana. My business has grown from a 5-figure to a 6-figure business. Also, I'm more at ease with myself and have learned to accept all of me. So that gives you some insight and some real world stories of what Freedom Tribe is like. Freedom Tribe is to free your true self so that you can have what your heart desires. Because for every positive change that you make in your life, something else also changes for the better. It creates a chain reaction. And I want to see ripples of positive change going out from every life that you touch. Not only for all the blessings that it brings to you in your world, but all the blessings that it's going to bring to other people, the people that you help, the people that you serve, the people that you care about, and the people that you love and that you want to help, your friends, your family members. And that said, it has been such a pleasure to be on this journey with you and to get to share this work that has literally changed the course of my life. I would not be who I am today, and I would not be where I am today if it weren't for this work. It's helped me get rid of so many of the symptoms that haunted me for years with the medical issues that I had. And then it helped me get a final diagnosis so that I could actually treat the illness and resolve it. It's helped me be able to get more customers in my business. It helped me get a sold out coaching practice in a month and a half. It helped me reach six figures in 9 months unexpectedly. I wasn't even tracking it. It was the next year that I looked back when I was doing my taxes and noticed that I had reached six figures. I've used this work to peel away the layers of what was holding me down in terms of my relationships. I wasn't attracting people that were a good fit for me romantically. I was attracting people who weren't available, who weren't ready for commitment, who didn't want commitment, or who they themselves had trouble with intimacy. So, as we've been talking about these entanglements and imprints, a lot of these are very familiar to me because I've had them. I've lived with them for years. And I myself have tried going to counseling. I've tried a lot of healing modalities. I've tried a lot of change work modalities. And over the years, nothing has been able to work as quickly or as efficiently as this work, which is why it's my favorite now, which is why it's the work that I do for everyone because it's efficient, it's effective, it's practical, it's not extremely challenging, and it moves us through removing our inner blocks much quicker than anything else I've seen or tried on myself over the years as a counselor, as a therapist. And I've studied so many modalities, I've tried so many things. This is the cream of the crop. It's my favorite because it's done so much for me. And now it's my honor to get to share it with the world and to help free other people so that I can actually, in essence, fulfill on the mission that I came here to do, which is to create as much positive change on this planet as possible with my life and in my lifetime. So thank you for showing up for yourself and to be present with all of the activities that we've done here to give you these conscious mind breakthroughs, to shine light on the darkness so that those puppet strings can't work invisibly anymore, pulling you this way and that, and blocking you from this and that, and keeping you stuck. Thank you for showing up and being present to the sessions that we've done because we're greasing the wheels. We're beginning to pull away and peel off those layers of entanglements and imprints that have been holding you down and blocking the light of the world from reaching you and your light from reaching others. We're here to free your true self, the true you, devoid of entanglements and imprints, so that you can live the life that you want to live, to be able to realize your goals and your visions easier, with less obstacles, with less self sabotage showing up. So, thank you for showing up for you and therefore all the people in your life that you touch, knowingly and unknowingly, just by being you and showing up in their world. So, thank you for all of that. I'm Dana Garrison, and remember, take bold actions towards the life that you want and don't let anything get in the way. Be unstoppable.